the volume.
Turn up the volume.
You've arrived at the destination for all things Kentucky. This is the Bleed Blue Network Podcast.
What is going on, Big Blue Nation? All UK ball back at you. Had a little week break. We were high on Louisville. Got a nice win. Lamont Butler goes for 30 on a perfect shooting night. And we're looking forward to Ohio State and Salena. I'm hoping you can tell me what happened because I'm still sort of at a loss for words.
Hey, Rando. I don't know what happened. That was completely two different teams in a week span. Two different teams. We didn't pass the ball. We sure the hell didn't shoot the ball well. Defense was suspect. I mean, I don't know. Something happened in the week off that, or week difference that was not great. A 20-point loss to Ohio State. While some people saying it's terrible, it's awful loss. Not a great loss whatsoever. For 20 points, that's embarrassing.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's in a game. I think it 8.5 point favorite you go into. I did get the same sort of thing. We saw it on Twitter. The group chats were going absolutely nuts. I mean, the fires were burning and not in a good way, not on a couch on the street type way.
In the BBM panic way. That's what this was.
Yeah, absolutely. The irrational panic way. And I think that, 20-point loss is how it's going to go down. The last 2 minutes of that game kind of skewed that score, trying to foul and, taking shots that were contested or threes that were contested, not open, just trying to get back into it. But yeah, it was confusing to see them so blatantly not play Mark Pope coached basketball. Yeah. I listened to the show today because I was curious on what he was going to say. Watching it, we were giving up, I wouldn't say wide open threes. Some of them were open. Some of them were slightly contested, but not really hard closeouts, giving those up for contested twos at the rim. And it wasn't working, right? We weren't finishing. Ortega had his usual 20 plus. He was able to finish the rim or get to the foul line. Lamont wasn't really able to get himself going offensively, especially around the rim. And I tell you what, I had flashbacks of Justin Edwards' blown layup last year when Jackson Robinson got hung at the rim. I instantly looked at my son and was like, it's just not our day, man. Like instant flashbacks of last year. Like, yeah, no matter how hard these kids fight, it's just not going to be, going to be us getting the W when the final buzzer rings. I think we got run off 3-point line too much. Lamont Butler, what he means to this team is probably too much, to be honest, because if we get into a game that's of significant importance, like you win or go home, and Lamont doesn't have those minutes, you potentially, aren't going to see the same team that we're used to seeing. What do you think? What do you think that comes from? Like, I know a lot of people were saying it's frustration fouls. Because his offense wasn't working, like the fouls were coming off of missed shots. I didn't go back and look at that. That was just something that was highlighted in some of the Twitter sphere. What do you think it is? You think that's his aggressive nature, and sometimes he's going to get called for that ticky tack stuff? Do you think it's a maturity thing where you just got to keep himself collected? What are you seeing when you're watching the game?
So this is going to sound crazy, and people come for me then too. I don't care. Sometimes I feel like there's still hangover for refs, especially like Doug Shows, who absolutely hated Cal. And I feel like sometimes the calls that are made against us are like hangovers from that time. because things that are called against us aren't always called against other teams. And we've seen this in other games. We're like, we don't understand. Like, but that's not a reason for they lost at all. Okay, like they shot terrible. They didn't pass the ball. Lamont Butler does mean way more to this team, I think, than he should. And I think that's highlighted when he goes out and when in foul trouble, because we don't have another ball handler because especially with Kerr out, right? Like with Kerr being out, our need for a secondary ball handler is blinding. Like it is so obvious that we need somebody that can step up and handle the pressure, make the right passes, shoot if they need to shoot in the open, whatever. And I know they're trying to get Perry up to that speed. He's not there yet, and that's okay. He's a freshman. Robinson did it in the Zaga game, but like he's still not super comfortable doing it. And you can tell that as well. Like we need a secondary ball handler, or we need Kerr to come back because Butler plays aggressive. Our defense itself is aggressive, just in general. Like Butler's aggressive, always aggressive. Like we have to have somebody that can step in if Butler's out trouble. Sometimes I do think Butler gets frustrated and like makes bad decisions on defense. But I don't know if it's just a maturity thing. I think it's just a player thing, right? Like, a lot of players do that in general. Like, it's just something that happens.
I think maybe there's some frustration there. Like, that's going to be natural. I just think that that's his aggressive nature. Like, he's going to go and reach for the ball. He's so good at recovering, whether he had a great block, the guy kind of went by him. He had a great block to recover, or he's able to get his hand in there without fouling. And the foul that he had, I think it was him and Berea went and did a double team on two. Thornton is his name, the guy that went on for 30. So. And they trapped him. The guy is running back or dribbling backwards to the half court line, and he kind of leans his body into Butler. If that was Kerr's flopping back and getting the offensive charge, right? That's just not Lamont. So Lamont's going to stick in there, try to get the ball. He gets the blocking foul. So I think it's just personalities like there. If he flops backwards, I think he sells it. He probably gets that push off. The one offensive foul that he got with that weak little chicken wing that he get the push off, the guy flop back. So it's those sort of things where you look towards the end of the game. Ortega's going through a screen on our baseline and out of bounds, and just runs the dude over, and it was no call, right? So it's like you never know what whistle you're going to get. That was a ticky-tack one that got Butler early, but I do think it's a conversation Pope has to have, or the coaching staff has to have with Lamont, like, hey, man, we will take one or two less steals a game to get one or two less fouls a game and keep you in there and play significant minutes. And then talking back to the shooting woes that you mentioned, Pope talked about it today. He was like, the Louisville game, we shot 21 threes because they defended the three-point line and they forced us to play inside. He even admitted like there were open shots, there was the ability to get to 30-plus threes, and we chose not to do that. So it was nice that he was his normal upbeat self, but he was not the same Mark Pope we had seen on Mondays throughout the show. He was very, very, you could tell there were still some frustrations laid over. And he was very open to the fact that that was a letdown game. Somebody sent in a question, was like, Coach Pope, how would you rate your rapping skills? And he was like, well, if I'm gift wrapping something for BBN, that Ohio State game was an F. So like he's very, very aware of how we're feeling about this game. And you got to hope that these next 10 days they have, when we come out New Year's Eve against Brown, it's a smack in the mouth. Like there's not any sort of, it's not a close game at halftime. We don't go down. It's just we come out there, we play a team that we should beat by double digits, and we beat them by double digits. It's not even close.
Yeah. No, I agree. And the thing with Pope is he is so in tune with the fan base as a whole. I think like he knows that we're frustrated with that loss. He's obviously frustrated as well, right? Which we appreciate that. It's not none of the nonsense we keep hearing. Oh, we'll get better. We're built for. We don't have to do that anymore. Like he's like, we're not a good game. We know this. As far as shooting woes go, like it's so weird because I feel like the wrong people are taking the shot, all the threes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like the wrong players are the ones shooting the threes. And I get it because they're open. I completely understand that. I get that. But at the same time, I don't know if it needs to be better ball screens. The offensive player like Brea needs to change how he's running the ball screens. I talked about this on my podcast with the ladies. I'm really curious what his percentage is when he does not dribble before he shoots. Because if you notice, almost every three. I think it's way lower if he doesn't shoot. If he doesn't dribble first, 1,000%. Because if you notice, if somebody creates a shot, a 3-pointer, dribble, step back, right? If he gets a shot, it's dribble, fake, shoot. Fake dribble, shot. There's nothing. Just seeing him come off a screen and just throw up a three is way different. You don't see that often. He has to have that dribble in. And even in the Zaga game when he got the rebound, he took a dribble and then shot the ball. Right? It's part of his rhythm and his motion, and I get that. But when you're playing defenses that are that tight to you, you don't always have time to dribble. You have to be comfortable and come off a screen and letting it fly as soon as it touches your hands.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I've said it before, that pump fake into a gather dribble into a three, that's got to be 75%, 80% for that one's going in. You just feel confident. So it's if he gets that gather dribble, and I think it's a feet setting thing. If he can, it's that gather dribble lets him set his feet, square his shoulder up, and get it off. Yeah. But you kind of want him to be able to do the come off the screen and just flip your shoulders, and
he needs to work on that
get
a
your
lot,
feet set that real quick. And also, he had the opportunity to shoot some of those things off the screen, and maybe that's what it is. He doesn't have the opportunity to get that gather, but you're like, dude, that's open for you. Shoot the dang
thing.
Let
it fly. Let it fly.
Yeah. If anybody's going to chuck up a shot, even with a hand in their face, you're the dude I want doing it, right? You first, Jackson Robinson second. There's a guy that I'm trusting. A wide open wing three, that's for Ansley, and that's for Carr, and that's for Ortega, right? Those are ones that they just happen to be in the right space, right time. You could do the floor spacing, they get the ball, and they're able to make a open shot. I want you to just dot somebody's eye every chance you can from outside. But I think that'll eventually get there. And I know there were some people, or there was one person, Mr. Red Cup, who told me I didn't know ball because I thought Brea should get some starting minutes. I know he came off the bench. He came off the bench in Dayton, and he was the best 3-point shooter on the team. I get it. So you would think that correlates. But if getting him in the rhythm of the game can get him going earlier, right? You set some stuff up for him early as the defense is trying to settle in. He sees a shot go in early, like he did on that one start that he had. He had 17 points and shot 50% from three, I believe. So, or 5 for 8, I think is what the numbers were. So over 50%. Maybe they should look at that, because I know from just watching the film, I don't have to know ball. I just watching the game from where he started at the beginning of the year and getting blown by to be able to stay in front of his defender and use his length on defense has drastically improved. So if he can be the key 3-and-D guy for this team in the starting rotation, I think you look at it. Even if it's not in the starting rotation, there has to be more.
Get him in sooner, I think.
Yeah, get him in sooner. Get him more minutes. Get him. He did have 27 minutes in the game against Ohio State. But if those extra minutes means Carr at the 5, and then you can have more guard forward play on the floor, I think that's something they have to look at as well. Because here's my assessment of how Amari works with this offense. Without a point guard, with Lamont's out, or with a lack of point guard depth, him at the top of the key to help facilitate the offense is a good thing. When you are even or ahead, because you can just roll your offense and go. When you get down quick, you can't have him in the game. When you're down double digits, you need to come back and score. He can't be in there. Not because he's not a good player, but because he's offensively handicapped. Yes. Until he gets better with his post play, with his back to the basket, I just don't think you can rely on him on the block. Where you can rely on somebody on the block who can stretch the floor is Andrew Carr, because his footwork is great. Right. His footwork. Yeah, it is for me, for sure. His footwork on the block is great. And his ability to make that and one around the basket. I mean, we've seen it just over and over again, where he just a little head fake, shoulder, boom, it goes in. I want to see more of that. And I feel the same way with Garrison. I think you can maybe get Garrison in there at the 5 if you're down, because he can stretch the floor a little bit. We've seen him make deep 2s or 3s. But yeah, that would be, if I could have a question to Coach Pope, it would be, hey man, when are we going to see more of this small ball lineup? And if you want these boys to shoot 33s a game, put the dudes in there who are going to do it and stretch the floor and put the defense in a tough spot.
No, I agree. And I'm sure people, again, will say something about this, but I feel like our defense is also better when you do play small ball with Andrew Carr in the middle. It's quicker, right? I think the rebounding is better overall. And that's the thing that frustrates me too. This team, rebound is not a priority for them. And it drives me up the wall, because we have so much length and we're so athletic. And we should be out rebounding, or at least like matching every team. And I feel like sometimes they just don't do it. And then they have to, like, the first half especially, they don't rebound well, right? They don't rebound well. And then, teams are getting second, third, fourth chances to score. They're scoring. And then second half they come out and the team rebound. It's like a completely different game, right? So it's like, I don't understand part of that. But no, I agree. I like Andrew at the 5 because he's a matchup problem. Carr is a matchup issue. He can drive the ball. He can shoot the ball. He can post. His defense isn't bad either. He's had a couple of really big blocks in like late stage of the games, right? So I don't know. I would agree with that. I think I said on the podcast before that I need Amari to play a complete game, like without checking out of the game, like like mentally checking out of the game, because he has flashes of where it's really, really good, and you're like, okay, I like this kid. Like, offensive limitations aside, because you're right, his post moves are not great. They're not great. And
he's just not comfortable going over his shoulder. Nice finesse off the glass. Everything looks just like
very clunky.
Yes, that's the best way to say it. It's
just clunky. Like it doesn't flow well. He's most comfortable at the top of the key. It feels like that's what he's most comfortable at doing, is facilitating the ball, rebounding if he has to, right? Like that's what he's most comfortable doing. But when you're that size, like, hello, just go dunk the daggone ball, right?
Yes.
Just dunk the freaking ball.
He did it. He did it early in the season, where they gave him some space at the top of the key. He put it in his left hand and he just yammed it on somebody, right? Just use his size and strength and just put the dude in the body bag. So instead of using that space and then turning your back to the guy, getting to the block and going up there, just go up there and
go through their chest, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, even if you get a blocking foul, that defender is not going to want to take 7 foot 265, 270 anymore. Just like go up there and yam it on them, get a foul, like make them feel you more in the paint, and make a business decision. Like make them see you coming down, that train coming down the track, and they're like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'll let you just go ahead and score.
Yeah, even if it's a foul on him, like you said, it makes that defender be like, hold on, do I actually want to do this? Like sometimes as an offensive player, you have to do that. You have to be the aggressive one to set the tone for the game. And I feel like we have seen that with teams against us, like this season, where they're aggressive out the gate and we don't respond. Like, I don't understand that, like, this team's shyness or something of physicality. Like physical games, they just can't. Like when teams are up on our grills, when they're pushing us, right, when they're rebounding over us, that stuff is not going to be called in the SEC. I'm sorry, it's not. That is every night in conference play. And you have to play through it. Like you have to. And they're not always playing through it. And I think that's a lot of the issues that we're having. Is because they're not taking the contact and still playing. right? They're kind of like shying away from it. And that's when we're getting bad shots, when we're getting turnovers, we're not rebounding. Like that kind of all goes to the same, like all goes together.
Yeah, and I think you can point to individual players and say, Ortega is a physical dude. Mm-hmm. You see it in his play. Lamont is a physical dude. You see it in his play. Sometimes too much on the defensive side against these ticky-tack fouls. You talked about rebounding. You watch Ansley go get a ball. Go watch Ansley on a defensive rebound. Mm-hmm. He is putting his body out there, going up there, stretching, and he'll throw it. He'll throw a shoulder, an elbow, whatever he needs to do to go get a ball. He probably is one of the best rebounders on the team. And he's a capable shooter. So again, seeing what these rotation minutes look like, maybe potentially something the coaching staff can look at. Carr, we just mentioned it. Carr's a physical guy. You can look at him and say 6'11", more slight of build than other big men, but he's 6'11", 235. Yeah, he's 6'30", 235. So not huge, but big enough. And physicality, you mentioned it as far as rebounding goes. That's a mindset. Like, do you want to be tough down there where where you have to be?
It's going to hurt sometimes. That's just part of the game.
Yeah. Like, and you got to you got to be willing to get in there and out physical the dude, right? Just
take those bruises.
Yep. Yeah, whether it's physically, mentally, just getting there, whatever it is to wear him down. My concern with the physicality is the person who's supposed to be the best player or the biggest get from the offseason seems to be the one who is most affected by the physical play. Jackson Robinson does not seem to be the dude who likes to get bodied and pushed around and have to fight through that. That concerns me because he's the dude who we're going to need to get us through conference play. Like we're going to need 30-point gains from him. Excuse me. Good grief.
No, you're right. And it's weird because breathe, Rando, breathe. It's weird because he is coughing his head off right now on mute. So I got you. He can be physical on defense when he's playing defense. He mucks it up. But when that same thing is flipped to him is when he has the biggest issue. Like you said, like offensively, whenever someone's physical with him, he kind of wilts a little bit. And I question that and I look how his play style too is, and it feels very finesse, right? Like it's very old school finesse play style. A lot of fadeaways, like soft jumper, soft touch. You don't see him pulling an away and going straight to the rim and dunking somebody's head, right? Like he's a finesse. Give me a little bit of space. I'll make my own space kind of player. But we need him to be able to play through physicality in order for this team to be successful. He can't not score like he's capable of doing just because somebody's put a body on him. Like, go draw a foul, dude. Like, take the ball to that. Go draw a foul, right? Like, shot fake, draw a foul, whatever you got to do. Because when you start doing those things, that's when the space is given to you so that way you can shoot how you want to shoot. Like, he plays too much into what the defense is giving him instead of taking what he wants.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the thing that hurts him there too is I don't know that he's a break you down, ball handler, go get one type of player. Like, I watch him dribble, and he just doesn't have the handles. I don't think he has the ability to just to one-on-one isolation get a bucket. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and he'll kind of figure that out. But when we see him with the ball late in the shot clock or kind of where the play has broken down and he just needs to be the guy, he's not able to get there. It's a long distance two. He'll settle for the three. So I don't know. He also can't let the first 10 minutes of the game affect him for the rest of the game. That seems to be another issue.
Yeah. So here's the thing with Jackson is I don't think with Jackson he has to be one of those one-on-one break your guy down type of players. Like, come off a screen, rip through the defender, and put your head down and go. Like, you don't have to have fancy dribbles to do that. Rip through and go, right? Because usually the defender is trailing you at some point. and you have an angle at least to get to the rim in some way, right? So whether that is straight to the rim, whether that is to a quick pull-up floater in the lane, like, or maybe a dish off because the other big comes and helps. Like, I'm not expecting him to be like a Butler or OA. I don't want that. I want him just rip through, read the defense, right? If they're behind you on a screen and they're trailing you and coming through, catch the ball, rip through, and go. We're not asking you to fancy dribble and just go to the rim, because like I've seen so many times, like if he goes to the rim, floater, pass, couple of 2-pointers, then they're gonna start respecting him in that regard. And he's gonna have space to shoot how he wants to shoot. Like as it is, he's easily guardable because he stays on the 3-point line, unless his curl off the screen is wide open, and even then he doesn't dribble as much like he did in the second game because he had to, but he's not comfortable doing it, and you can tell that.
Yeah, no, I think you could point it. Whatever offense he can manufacture to see a couple easy ones go in early and then stretch out the floor, let the rim gradually get bigger for him as the game goes on, instead of a couple deep threes don't go and then that thing gets tightened up and the game gets harder for him. I'm curious what SEC play is going to look like and what adjustments are going to be. One other thing that Pope mentioned is there is some offense that they intentionally did not run so far because he knew of the gauntlet would be coming of the SEC schedule. It sounded like not totally new, but basically augments or audibles, throwing some football term in there of what they're already doing. So there's going to be some new spin-offs to the offense, new play calls. That's what I think they're going to kind of install as we get into SEC play. Curious what that might be. If I had to guess, it's going to be something to force these guys to get to that 30, 35 3-point a shot per game kind of tempo that he wants. But then I wonder really how this rotation kind of evens out, because, Kerr's out. I don't know when.
February, probably. Yeah.
So we're going to be limited there. And is Travis going to be able to figure out how to play college ball by the time January rolls around and we're playing Florida at Rupp? I don't know.
Here's my thing with the SEC. And I'm not saying like this as a negative statement in any regard to the team, but if they think they have had physical play yet, they haven't. I don't know if you watched Mississippi State and Memphis the other day. I don't know if you watched them. Mississippi State's defense destroyed Memphis. Okay, yeah. It wasn't even their offense much as their defense wreaked havoc. They're physical, they're long, they talk, they communicate, their hands are everywhere. If they were counting tips, they probably had 40 tips in that game with just their hands moving. And that's the stuff you're going to see in the SEC every single night. And I'm all for them shooting as many threes they want to shoot. That's fine. But they better be prepared to rebound the ball and they don't miss. Because if not, they're probably going to lose a lot more games than they want to. It is what it is. The SEC is an absolute gauntlet this year. Every team is tough. No team has a losing record so far. I don't think any team's lost more than 3 games so far.
The worst team in the league beat the number 1 team in the country at one point.
Right.
So
it's not like we have a weakness in the SEC as a team this year. There's no guaranteed win anywhere on the schedule like there used to be. That
especially on the road.
Oh, especially on the road. And so far this team has proven that they're not a super great road team. They're not a great road team in general. They get down by a lot. They have to fight back. They don't respond well to the physicality. Clemson was nothing compared to the MSU in the SEC. It just is what it is. They're not. And I don't know if the boys understand that completely yet. But I mean, like I said, I'm all for them shooting as many as they want. That's fine. Make 20. I don't have to worry about anything I just said. It's all a like invalid point. But if you're shooting the same way you're currently shooting the SEC, and you're not rebounding the ball, you're going to have a lot more 20-plus point losses than you think you're going to. It just is what it is. Like, it sucks to say, but it is what it is.
Yeah, especially if the defense breaks down like it did, and allow a guy who averages 15, shy of 15 a game to go off for 30, and most of that because he made some tough buckets. I mean, that one in the second half when the shot clock was running down, he shot it over Amari. That fade away from jumper in the middle of the paint. Like, tough shot. Some of the threes that he made, not expecting those to go in. But they did. But the straight line drives that he had, just too easy.
So many of them.
It just happened too easy. But with all that being said, you mentioned the shooting. 20% from the field, I can't see happening very often.
No.
We're too talented.
It's a loss if we do.
Yeah, we're too talented. You did make a good point, though. We have an experienced team, but we have an experienced team that played a lot of college ball, but outside of Ortega and from Oklahoma, probably not a lot of big, crazy atmospheres, right?
Right.
So getting used to that, I don't know how many. Well, let me back it up. Also, Lamont Final Four championship. I mean, that's a pretty massive, pretty massive atmosphere. Yes, but Ortega and Lamont were the guys who have consistently showed up. Now, Lamont going for 4 points in the game against Ohio State, not expected. He might have donated too many points for the Louisville game. We might have wanted to try to pull a couple of those back, and just save some for this Ohio State game. But
just save 7.
It's just save some. Potentially the stage is still a little big for some of these guys, and I think that'll buff out. They'll figure it out by the time we get into a couple of those road games again, especially they get one win. You would think, going to Seattle, mostly a Gonzaga environment, they get one, maybe that settled them down after Clemson. But then you go to Madison Square Garden, and this massive thing, big stadium, probably the biggest moment. Arena, biggest stage that a lot of these guys have ever played in. I can't imagine what I would do, with the opportunity to go play college ball, and you're going to, you transfer from FDU and now you're playing in MSG, you're Amari coming from Drexel, and now boom, he's, playing where the same place where the Knicks suit up, and you got Kentucky guys who play for the team and that sort of thing. So hopefully that buffs out, and the 20% shooting night is a one-off, and we're not having this conversation too many times of letdown victories. I do also would tell BBN to consider massive game against Gonzaga that you come down from 16-point on. All right, we've harped on that a lot. A massive home game for Coach Pope to beat Louisville in his first return, where they're trying to do the whole revival thing. So potentially a little bit of a hangover game. Had a full week in between. You had finals with it. Potentially the boys just showed up, chest puffed out a little bit too much, thinking this is Ohio State team that we should just walk over. And then, like you mentioned before, they got smacked in the mouth early and they couldn't recover, right? They were still kind of seeing stars throughout the whole game after taking that first blow, that standing 8 count in the first half,
They took it all right. Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's frustrating, obviously, to see that type of game happen. I get more frustrated by trying to read the nonsense on Twitter too, though, because it's like, I don't know. I saw some really wild takes on Twitter, like the honeymoon's over. Oh no, we should fire him. We should fire Pope. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like,
the honeymoon phase is over. It's like
I'm like the unrealistic expectations is wild. Like La La Land. Like I don't know what to tell. I don't know how to describe it. Like I don't. It's literally La La Land. Like it's delusion at its finest.
Yeah, I mean those games that we won probably had something to do with the breakdown, the mental breakdown of the fan base after that loss where we should have won. And I think there's still some scar tissue from not being able to win a CBS Sports Classic. Right, we finally got the win against Duke in the opening game last year. Could have beat Kansas and just didn't get that thing done. So I think there's still some frustration of these big games, these tournament style, big televised games that, you want to go win those ones, especially when you have the team who's favored to do so.
Right.
So I think that there's still some frustration from the fans not being able to get that done. But yes, have faith that this dude's going to figure it out. He's got one of the best coaching staffs in college basketball.
Yes.
They're going to go back and fix things. Part of that being players' mindsets, I think, and part of it being the analytic-based basketball that they play, and say we have to just not let a team dictate what we do. The coaching staff can make those adjustments, I believe. I do wonder why sometimes they wait until halftime to make some of those adjustments. Pope seems to like the boys play it out. He'll hold on to that first timeout specifically for a while. Let a run really, really get real deep in there before he'll call that timeout. He seems to trust his players. Maybe it's what it is. It's a veteran team. But like going to that 1-3-1 zone or 3-3. What were they running?
It's 1-3-1.
Yeah,
he does a 1-3-1 all the time.
Yeah,
he does the junk defense.
We saw it in the second half and it worked. Maybe throw that out in the first half and then go on a run. Just kind of just slow it down a little bit. Something. We talked about small ball lineup. Something. Let's make those adjustments earlier in the game so we're not trying to dig out of a 9, 10, 16 point hole. Because the team that we saw in the second half, we get that team through the whole game. I'm arguing we win that game. Yeah, we win that game. We're still talking like, geez, that was not pretty. That was not.
We're still winning the game though.
We're winning the game. And we're still concerned with SEC play, but we win the game, right? So the argument, I guess, I would give to you is it better to have won that game and the Band-Aid be on the problems, or to have lost that game and now it's glaring for the players and the coaching staff? Like, if we don't fix it, the league play is going to be embarrassing.
While I don't want to lose by 20 ever,
fair, okay, yeah.
I do think this loss gives them a chance to fix the glaring issues, right? A lot of times SEC play, you don't have a week and a half time off in order to address those issues, right? You're playing Tuesdays, playing Saturdays, playing Tuesday, playing Saturdays, on and on and on. You don't have that time to break it down in depth and fix whatever issues you might have. So I'd rather have that loss, even if it was on 20 points, that's terrible. Even if it's just a loss, still, we can address those issues and then fix some of them by league play. And to be fair, rather not losing the league, because half these fans suck, and I don't want to hear their mouths in league play either. But part of the thing on Ohio State was a lot of it just seemed like effort. Like, it just didn't seem like the energy and effort was there either. Like, it wasn't like, granted, we couldn't make a shot, and if we made shots, it's a different story. I think they made I I saw it was 8 field goals or 7 in the first half and only 8 or 9 in the second half. Like, that is such an anomaly with this team. It's ridiculous. But
yeah, the scoring drought we went on in the second half was wild. And
what?
The only thing that saved us was getting to the free throw line and the amount of missed layups that we had. I mean, the opening tip of the game.
Yes.
the play that got drawn up was the wide open layup got blown. I'm like, and then he came down and hit that three, and you're like, that. I mean, that first 10 minutes, the first two segments of the game were close, and then kind of got out of hand. Again, a correlation to Lamar Butler foul trouble, but yeah, I agree. I'll take this loss. Be disappointed, but not be panicked, and say go play New Year's Eve, smack Brown around. Don't even play around. I mean, send it back to Rhode Island. Just
by 50 if you have to. I don't care. Make
Cats
a statement.
by 90 all the way. Tattoo them if you have to. Just whatever you got to do. But send them back so when the ball drops in Rhode Island, they're pouting. They just want to forget 2024 ever happened. Like, do what you got to do, get some confidence, and then go play Florida and make those adjustments. Pope, we're talking about, let's see some new wrinkles in the offense and settle everybody down, because right now there's a I don't want to say significant portion, but there is a portion of the fan base who thinks we're going to get embarrassed by a very good Florida team. And I would like to remind them, we aren't a bad team. Bad teams don't go and beat Duke. Bad teams don't go 3 time zones away and beat Gonzaga in Seattle. Right?
After being 18 down. They don't do that.
Right.
That doesn't
one
happen.
Of those things, one of those games could have been a fluke, but remember what we did multiple times, multiple weeks in very, very adverse situations. So, yes, letdown game, potential hangover game after a big rivalry game, but not something that I'm going to panic over yet. I'm still far away from that because I still have faith in this team and the boys that we have. We're talking about aggressiveness. We're talking about fight. We're talking about grit. We're talking about that dog mentality. We went and got these dudes who came from different places to play for the brand. And I believe them and the coach when they say they know how much this means to the fan base and to the university.
No, I agree. And the dog mentality and the grit, that is a choice that the players have to make every single game, right? Like, they have to make the choice to be that dog on the court, to play that grit, physicality, that mentality of, hey, this is my game, I'm taking it, like, we're going to win no matter what. And Pope has it in him as well. He's got that dog in him. Like, don't get me wrong, the guy is nice and super nice, like sweet like candy, like whatever, but he's got that inner, like, we're not going down like this type of thing. And I have faith in the coaching staff 1,000%. I think we've seen too many adjustments made already to not have faith that they won't get this figured out. I mean, like, we've already seen them make those adjustments already to where they will get it figured out. And we know they'll do a ton of film study on like Florida and South SEC teams and have a plan work for them. So am I concerned? A little bit, just because SEC guard play is really good, right? Like, there are so many really good guards in SEC, and Florida has a couple of them themselves. But I also know we have really good guards too. So,
Yeah, so I was just checking the score. I saw that Middle Tennessee State, MTSU, I think that's Middle Tennessee. They were up 40-34 on Tennessee at halftime. And Tennessee came back and won 82-64. But I saw the halftime score and I thought, oh my goodness, please let me be able to say something to Tennessee fans right now.
I just want to rub it a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, but unfortunately they scored 48 points in the second half and won that game at home.
Damn.
Oh my God. I would have felt so good about everything. My Christmas would have come true if Middle Tennessee State smacked Tennessee around, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But yeah, I'm going to close with this. This is a kind of a pet peeve of mine.
Okay.
The amount of people I saw on the internet saying, if these boys weren't out there walking through New York City enjoying them damn selves, they would have won this ball game. Pope needs to shut up. Stop. Like, think about this. That is the silliest take in the world. the amount of film study they're doing, the amount of practices they're doing, if like the mental and physical recovery is walking out and enjoying the city with your teammates. Let's not forget about like camaraderie is probably the biggest thing that matters when it comes to a basketball team. Like loving the boys that you're playing for, and those things are important. This coaching staff getting out there and educating, like this is an education thing too. So like getting out there and experiencing the culture. These are college athletes who are, yes, getting paid to play ball, but this is a once in a lifetime experience. If they want to go enjoy themselves and catch fish in the market up there in Seattle, or go see Hamlin or whatever the hell the play they want to.
Hamilton,
sorry, whatever. I don't know my culture of plays, I guess, is not where it needs to be. But if they want to do those things, let them do it, because the ratio of what they're doing for ball is significantly greater than the small amount of time they get to enjoy themselves. So whether or not they were watching another hour of film or went out to New York City and enjoyed themselves and had some pizza and did the whole Bleacher Report pizza review thing, let them do it. Yeah. Or Barstool pizza report thing. I don't want to get anybody, I don't want old Dave to get pissed off at me.
What killed me too is people are like saying that, and then like I know like Colin Chandler announced his engagement, but like, oh, I should do this after the season. Ha ha ha. And I'm like, guys, listen, like they play ball. They are human. They have a whole entire life, okay, outside of basketball. And I understand that it's so hard for people to understand because so many fans live, breathe, and die by basketball. Yep. I get it, but these kids, they're adults, but they're still kids in like the real world sense, right? Like they've been in basketball, in AAU, in programs their entire life. They're still kids in the real world sense of speak, I guess, and they're just trying to enjoy their life while they have this opportunity that they would not have had otherwise. And to say the stuff they said insinuates that they don't appreciate it, and that's insane to me to even say that.
Yeah, listen to any of them talk in any of these interviews, and let them say that this opportunity doesn't mean something to them. It clearly does. And just let's just be a little bit more compassionate when it comes to this. Get upset when we lose. That's fair. Be irrational. Say we stink, whatever. But that kind of whole nonsense has to stop. Because whether you believe it or not, this nonsense that we put out there on the internet, they see it. That's what I don't understand. Like they see y'all running. Not I don't want to be directed, and
no, they see people y'all running your mouth. Y'all running your mouth. I'll say it for them. They see y'all doing it. Okay, they see it. Yeah, I don't care. So y'all is everybody.
Yes. At least if we're gonna do that, let them earn it. Okay, let them like string something together and then do something silly where they can be like, oh, they clearly don't appreciate Kentucky on their chest. They have done nothing of that sort so far. They have provided a bunch of early season happiness for all of us. So let's hold on to that. With that being said, let's enjoy the holiday season.
Oh yeah, it's Christmas
Santa
time.
Claus is coming to visit me. We're gonna leave out some. We're going to leave out some bourbon and cookies for Santa Claus this year. Huh? Well, that's what Santa enjoys. Santa's not Santa's tummy gets a little beat up over some milk, so we're going to have some bourbon instead.
We got bourbon instead.
Yeah. But no, in all seriousness, Selena, I wish you a Merry Christmas to you and your family. Happy New Year. And let's hope next time we are on here, we're talking about that Brown beatdown, and then we're prepping for Florida because I do hate that school with a passion and would like to be able to beat them and open up SEC play with the victory and get the confidence back into the fan base.
No, I agree. Rando, I hope you guys have an awesome Merry Christmas as well and a great New Year. And like I said, I think we'll be back on here talking about that Brown beatdown 100%. So
let's go. Cats by 90. Bleed Blue. Go Cats. Peace.
Go Cats.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Bleed Blue Network podcast. We hope you enjoyed diving deep into the world of Kentucky sports with us. Don't forget to stay connected by following us on Twitter at BleedBNation. Your feedback means the world to us. So take a moment to leave a review. Not only does it help us improve, but it also helps others discover the show. Until next time, Keep cheering, keep listening, and keep bleeding blue.